Hi everyone, Richard Carlton here. I'm here today with Claus. Hi Claus.
Hey Richard.
Tell us about your company and what do you do?
So we are a traditional FileMaker consulting company. We do most custom development for a range of clients. So that's basically what we are doing. We are located in Denmark and have a team in Denmark and work with a team in Spain as well.
Now, for those of you who have not met Claus, he always attends the FileMaker Developer Conference. He is an outstanding contributor to the FileMaker community, and he has made a number of tools that make our lives easier. And today he's going to be showing us a server administration tool, which basically helps manage your FileMaker server, because FileMaker server can be kind of a challenge sometimes to manage. So why don't you show us your tool and walk us through this?
Sure. So I just wanted to show you that there is a username and password, which is basically the same. It's just because if you leave the credentials within the tool, it's nice to have security. So this tool is a completely free tool. It's completely unlocked, so you can go in and dig into the code and learn and steal all the code from there. Hopefully, it will make you start much easier when if you're going to do anything yourself. So FileMaker Server 17 was the first version where FileMaker built a new web admin console, which is very beautiful. However, there were some features they were not able to put in, and for that they built an admin REST API that we can utilize along with some command lines. So it basically means that in order to manage your FileMaker server, you now need 3 places to put in commands. There are some overlaps, but some features only exist in one interface and others only in other areas. So what I did here was to combine all the 3s, the REST admin API, the command line, and the web admin console. So for Server 18, it's pretty much the same picture. The admin console is pretty much identical with only minor changes to it. However, the REST API is a completely new version with a lot of new features. So I had to rewrite this tool completely in order to make it work with Server 18. So that's also why it's named with Server 18. It works with FileMaker Server 18, but not with 17 because it's different calls.
Okay, so quick question. So if we have a server 17 still, which some people will have, they can still download your 17 version of this tool?
Definitely. So I have set up a testing server here and already filled in the credentials. So I'm going to log in. And as you can see, it's now green, so we are logged in. We can see a list of the files that is currently hosted. We can see the clients who are working on the server. You can see an icon for which type of client. This is Pro Advanced, there's a FileMaker Go, there's a bunch of WebDirect, and there's a couple of PSOS script engine. And you can also see the total number of clients up here, 4, 1, 7, and 2, and there's no XDDBC. So this is basically a status of the files and the clients. What you can do here is basically do actions for all the files, or you can just select a few files if you want that. This is standard FileMaker, so you can just modify to whatever need you have. In the admin console of Server 16, the files were organized in folders. You don't have this organization in folders in Server 17 or 18. So this is another way of just selecting a couple of files, and then you can perform actions like open, selected, or close. Actually, you can build upon this, and as you can see here, we get the information about where is this file located in which folder. So you can take this information and then you can do a folder structure here if you like. So there are some good information. This I put in a couple of icons. So this is the status icon. If it's green, it's open. If there's a log here, then it's encrypted. And if we have saved the encryption key on the server, the key here is lit green as well.
So Claus, quick interruption. So you keep saying that people can customize this. So just to establish that we have full administrative access to this file, we can customize it or tweak it, correct? Wow, that's awesome. So you're making this tool essentially completely free. Why are you doing this?
Well, I needed a tool to manage my servers, and so I built one. And I know there are other people out there in the community who doesn't have maybe the time, or maybe they don't have the skill set to put this together. And it's a very sharing community. When I started, I got a lot of help. It's 25 years ago. So I think it's my time to give something back, and I'm trying to do that with tools like these.
Well, I want to thank you for this. This is really awesome. And I didn't mean to derail the conversation here, but it's important that people understand that this is unlocked and it's free and they can customize it or tweak it. I can tell you for a fact, I love this because one of the first things that happens with a FileMaker server installation is, at least with 18, is that I need to change the cache size of the cache. And the other issue is to manage the startup restoration, which our initial default recommendation is to disable. For a wide variety of reasons. We cover that in other videos, but it's kind of some new technology. And so the first thing I want to do is be able to easily turn that on or off. So right here, you can turn it on or off. And then, of course, that does require a restart. Can we do the restart from here, or do we need to log on to the server?
No, you need to log on to the server because it's a machine restart. But however, if it's just the database engine, you can actually restart the database engine from here. You can just turn it off and turn it on again. The same with PHP, XML, the data REST API, the web publishing engine, the WebDirect, XDBC, all the controls of the processes of the server here.
So those are kind of on and off switches for those basic parts of the server, but the startup restoration itself is actually more of a complete machine restart. So yeah, so then we have to log on to the actual server and initiate the restart that way.
Yeah, in that case, yeah. So, like I mentioned here, there's a bunch more controls than in the 17. One thing you can see here is right now I only have a single server and there's only one worker machine on it to it. And the switch I made here is only turning on and off the first worker. So if you have installed several workers, meaning that you are probably using WebDirect a lot, so you have chosen to install the worker onto several other servers, you will need to tweak this code if you want to use it for switching on and off the other worker machines. But it's not that much work to do that. But I leave that to you. But other than that, you can do all of this stuff here. There's one thing I actually wrote in, and this is a best practice setting, and that's why I put it into red. I mean, this is not what FileMaker is doing, and I think I and a lot of other server people in the community has been asking FileMaker to change that default setting. But when you install a FileMaker server, it's a default set to open databases on start, meaning that when your FileMaker server starts, it will automatically open your databases. Now that sounds like a very good setting because then it's worry-free. However, if you have a power outlet and your server crashes or anything, it will just try to start up the databases and you would very easily end up with corrupt databases. And FileMaker is a great tool and great platform. So it actually, in many, many cases, allows you to continue working on your database files. However, they have corruption inside them, and that just grows over time. Then you suddenly discover that something is wrong, and then you don't have the ability to find a good backup copy because you have overwritten the good backup copies. And then you're really screwed. So that's why I actually was so bold to put in here in red that you should please disable.
Yeah, to be clear, in our video training course, we address this issue very specifically, and we refer to this as the corrupt your database file, lose the database, and go out of business setting. And we normally don't like that, so we turn it off. Now, what's interesting about the 18 release, and really we're starting to wander outside the conversation of the admin tool, but the startup restoration is kind of conceptually an idea that kind of helps offset or manage this, but we still have some outstanding questions about the startup restoration tool. It's really kind of a 1.0 capability. And so the idea with the startup restoration tool is that if you crash, theoretically FileMaker does this resuscitation of the file. I have a number of medical staff that are on my team, EMTs, paramedics, things like that, and they refer to this as the CPR of the FileMaker file, kind of resuscitating it. And so that's what startup restoration does, but since it's kind of a 1.0 technology, we're kind of taking a wait and see. So the established consultants in the community currently are still at a mode where they say, do not let your FileMaker server auto start the databases, so please disable and turn that to false. Additionally, probably turn startup restoration off as well until we have better information as to how that will behave in the long run.
Yeah, it does have a performance penalty in some cases. Well, basically, I could just log into the web admin console because it makes a point. So let's just drag this a little bit bigger. This is the web admin console. As you know, it's from FileMaker. And when you go into the configuration and script schedules, you are able to set up your schedules here. That was the part that I didn't build in the REST admin part, but you are able to do that. However, you're not able to configure it to send an email whenever the schedule has run. So in here, there's no way to disable all the scripts. You can turn one on, but if you have a lot of schedules, you have some that is on and some is enabled and some is disabled. But there's no global setting for disabling or enabling all of the script schedules. But we have that here. I wrote just some information. Basically, this step will disable at a global level all script schedules. And as you can see, no, you can't. But all the script schedules are disabled. But now you have that ability, although it would have been nice if they found some place for it here. But you have the ability to do it here. So that's one nice new feature of the admin API. And when the admin API is not doing everything you need, then you can turn to the command line. And I put in here, I think I have every single command line command in here that is a helper. So let's say that we want to set maximum number of pesos. So it writes out the command here. It puts in the username and password that you did set up over here. And then it has the information here. And then you can say, okay, maximum server script session is 25, but you can change this number. So that's an ability you have. You can also ask for client status, and when I have it in a merge code, client ID, it means that you need to input the client ID. So the command line, if you're on the server, you need to copy and paste it into the terminal on Mac or on the command prompts on Windows, and then you can run it. You are able to set up a remote connection if you have port forwarding and open for port 22 in the firewall, and then you can fire it off remotely. But basically, this is the command lines, and they are written out for you this way, so it should be easy, even if you're not super comfortable about command line. It should be very easy here. And it actually also have these two commands for the startup restoration, which we're not sure is really documented, but they are in here.
Well, as of the time we're recording this, the startup restoration command line function is not documented. Maybe they'll add that. I'm not sure if that was an oversight or something deliberate, but there's one thing about command lines is that unless it's documented somewhere, there are frequently command lines that you can call that you don't even know exist, right? Kind of like finding the secret key inside the application. So yeah, it's kind of funny. So maybe that changes in the time that you see your version of FileMaker Server 18, but as of time of recording, it's not in the product.
No. There's one other thing in both 17 and 18, and that's about the auto backup. So FileMaker has put in a feature that is doing an automatic backup, which happens every midnight. So this is turned on by default and it's always running, and there's no switch here, so you're not able to turn it off in the web admin console. However, this is behind the scenes just a backup script schedule, which has the ID of #1. So with the command line, we can disable a schedule, and then we just use this command and fire off disable schedule 1, and then you have turned off the auto backup at midnight. Now, why would you do that? Well, it depends on your business and what is running. Midnight might seem as a good time to do a backup. We have a music venue where their busiest hour is at midnight because all the bands are playing. So under no circumstances we can do a backup at midnight. But luckily we have a way of disabling this backup. I would mention that there are no default backup schedules set up when you install your FileMaker server, and you should create a backup schedule.
Okay, so Claus, in our video training, we do discuss this specifically in one of our videos, and we recommend people run hourlies, run dailies, run weeklies, and depending upon the situation, they might even run them every 15 or 20 minutes. But the idea is to create lots of backups on a variety of drives. That way, in case a drive fails, you still have backups in other locations. You can even basically zip some of those if you're clever and upload them to Dropbox or Box or some other offsite storage place. And we talk about that as well. So once again, having good controls and understanding your backups with FileMaker Server on premise is really important. So FileMaker basically says, if you go back to the top one, the auto backup is one that's every day, basically for 7 days at midnight. This is what I would consider the absolute bare minimum. Because once again, if you crash a FileMaker file, and once again, not getting into the startup restoration conversation, but if you crash a file, you never use that file. You throw it away. And so if your last backup is from a day ago, then you end up using a file from a day ago, and you might have lost a day's worth of data. So having hourly backups is very important.
Yeah, that's for sure. But that's also in the command line tool. And we have the REST settings here. There's a lot of features actually. And there's a lot of information as well about the clients here, which can be very useful. Also, if you want to do your own kind of access logging as well. And you can also see stuff like, no, it's actually in the API. You can see which clients is connected to which files. So that mix can also be put in, like we had in Server 16. You don't have that in here as well. You can't see which file, which database has this client open. As it's set up now. In 16, you could select the client, and then on the bottom part of the screen, you would see which files this client had open. You can see here that the file has 12 clients. And if you select the file, you can see all the clients, which is a nice overview. But if you want to see the other way around, which is mostly relevant when you have several files that the user is connecting to, that can be very helpful. But it's in the information you get from a REST API, so you can just go in and customize to fit your needs and things.
So I guess we should wrap up this video, but the one thing I'm not seeing in here is anything about the log files. Now, getting access to the log files in FileMaker Server on-premise 18 is a little bit of a challenge. So are you addressing that?
Well, you can get the log files in here, but you need to download each of the log files, and it takes some time. So any type of real-time log viewer is not included in the 17 or 18 admin console. It's not included in this free tool as well. However, I'm working on a pro version of this tool that will be a paid tool where I'm building in a log viewer. For that file, you need to host it on your FileMaker server. But then it will be able to fetch log entries and show it to you. You can do search and stuff like that. And all the command lines stuff you can fire off directly from the file. So it will be a pro version.
So let me ask a quick question then. Is Zabbix is a tool that FileMaker is promoting that gives you server, log visibility. So how would your tool be different than Zabbix, say, for example?
Well, it will be different in the way that it's going to sit on your FileMaker server. So if you only have a single FileMaker server, using Zabbix is a huge overload because you need to set up yet another server, a Linux server, install the Zabbix server on that Linux instance, and then you need to install a Zabbix client on your FileMaker server. So basically, in order to monitor the logs and all the other statistics with Zabbix, you need a separate server just for doing that. And if you only have a single FileMaker server, that might be a lot of overhead. On the other hand, if you have a bunch of FileMaker servers and maybe other servers that you watch, Zabbix is a very cool tool. It's pretty advanced and there's a steep learning curve in order to get it up and running. But once you have that, it's very awesome. But I mean, my tool is for you if you just have a single server, or maybe you have two servers and you don't mind logging into the server itself in order to manage the single server and watch the logs. So that's the difference.
Awesome. Well, Claus, this is really a great tool. So once again, I want to thank Claus for this because I will be personally using this tool. And like in all my videos, I only talk about and promote the product that I personally use or that my team uses, and I want to thank Claus for doing a great job. Now, real quick, Claus, this is free, it's unlocked, but where do we get this?
The Brain Basket.
The Brain Baskets, especially with that artwork, is not hard to forget. So feel free to check out the Brain Basket. Brainbasket.com is not the domain. You have to put the in the front, very important. And then you can also check out Claus's other tools here, which he's playing with, including his whistleblower tool. Sorry. That was the code name for the project, was Whiskeyblower, which I thought was an awesome name for a product. And there's Claus there. Wow, look at all the cool stuff you have. Oh, also SSL information, right? That's also in your tool. So make sure you check out that tab in Claus's free tool. It walks you through the process of getting your SSL certificate set up for your FileMaker 18 on-premise server. So this is Richard Carlton. I'm going to sign off. Thank you, Claus, for doing a great job and a great service to the FileMaker community.
Thank you.